So this is the Chanda Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 42.1. So once at Savatthi, Chanda approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said, Venerable Sir, what is the cause and reason why someone here is known as rough, and what is the cause and reason why someone here is known as gentle? So I think he's asking if in your Dhamma and discipline,
who is rough and who is gentle,
right, according to the Buddha's understanding.
Sure. Within, okay, yeah.
And so the Buddha replies, here someone has not abandoned lust. Because he has not abandoned lust, others irritate him. Being irritated by others, he manifests his irritation. He is known as rough. He has not abandoned hatred. Because he has not abandoned hatred, others irritate him. Being irritated by others, he manifests irritation. He is known as rough. He has not abandoned distraction or avijja, delusion. Because he has not abandoned distraction, others irritate him. Being irritated by others, he manifests irritation. He is known as rough. This is the cause and reason why one can be known as rough. And then here someone has abandoned lust. Because he has abandoned lust, others do not irritate him. Not being irritated by others, he does not manifest irritation. He is known as gentle. Likewise with hatred and distraction, delusion. This is the cause and the reason why one can be known as gentle. So I like the sutta because I know from experience what is known as rough and gentle in the world is outward expression, outward forms.
But there is that other sutta where it says that, wasn't it?
About the one monk who was
companions in the holy life, like softly spoken, always pleasing, nice to be around, but of the wrong view, and you should avoid them completely. Not have anything to do with them. And then the alternative was like you have roughly spoken, not easy to be around, difficult, but of the right view, and you should go and be with them, because that's what really matters at the end of the day. Now, of course, you can have both, or neither. You could have softly spoken and the right view. But the point is that the emphasis should be on whether it's the right view or not. That kind of underlines the behavior of this person. And for that, you can't just use the external appearance as a criteria. So,
yeah, there's this. Yeah, so that's the issues that people want to use external things like clothing, way of moving the body,
exactly,
way of speaking,
exactly. Uniform, decorum, which is again all fine if it's for like a for like a social harmony.
Right.
Yeah, you don't go and just start telling off a random stranger, But if somebody comes to learn the Dhamma from you, they're not a stranger. It means they want to learn. So then if you come across like not so pleasing in your expression, and if they refuse then to hear the Dhamma because of how you come across, well, that's their great loss. Because like you read the Vinaya stories in the suttas, I mean the Buddha was far from mildly mannered and softly spoken. When monks did something wrong, like the names he called them, the comparisons he drawn between them and what they did, it was quite horrific. Because of the weight of their actions. It was appropriate. He wasn't there to pat you on the back. He was there to lead you out of samsara, basically. And you think that can be done with just like some skillful communication and we all feel good? No. Even the world can't be solved by that. Because again, that's not the root of the problem. Like if your emphasis is on the level of how you communicate, how you come across, not why you do so, in other words, because of greed, aversion or delusion, you'll never solve the problem. Even if everybody never utters any bad words, again, their intention remain infected with lust, with aversion, with delusion, which sooner or later conflict will have to arise, because that's the root of conflict. So that's the problem. Like, as I said, you can whatever, learn the manners and learn how to speak properly, and just it will basically cause you less hassle in the world. People won't attack you, won't be against you necessarily, but there is a limit to that. But the problem is, like, if you start confusing learning a communication skill and how to express without offending anybody and so on, you start confusing that as the development in the Dhamma, that you're completely misguided. And people do confuse that. People more often than not, they confuse psychotherapy and which a lot revolves around learning the non-violent communication and learning all of this. They confuse that for the actual practice of the Dhamma. People, they've been exposed to both. I've seen that so many times. Because yes, you've actually become better in worldly terms, but no amount of you purifying your expression,
the outward shell,
cleaning your words up, and perfecting your outward shell, no amount of that would bring you any closer to uprooting the greed, aversion, delusion. Not an inch closer. It will probably take you further from it, because, as I said, now you're confusing a random worldly practice for the practice of the Dhamma.
Yeah.
And because of that, you won't look for what the actual practice of the Dhamma is.
And so you can polish your outward shell all you want, but internally it's absolutely filthy.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
So you
The
speak yourself,
the asavas are still
but you
there.
are still irritated. And
Yeah.
if you are still irritated,
That's the root
then
of the problem.
that's the problem. Doesn't matter how soft the words you're using, or how you walk in slowly, and you know, doing all the externally right things, you're coming from a place of irritation.
And the Buddha said that
Okay,
in that I don't remember the sutta, the reference, but it was basically when he said it was a perfect harmony. When the community is perfectly harmonious, not if they learn how to talk to each other, or if they never use rough words. No, they're perfectly harmonious if they all partake in the same right view.
Yeah.
So Sottapati is the result of harmony.
The
And see, consequently, like you could then conclude very easily that, okay, so without the right view, even if the entire community is just all smiles and happiness and nice words, that's not harmony. That's basically circumstantial agreeability that will have to break apart at some point, because the root for the that division still exists. Greed, aversion, delusion, sensuality, desires. It's the root of suffering. So if you're not free from desires, no amount of you padding your expression and how you come across and all of that will change that. As I said, it will factually make your life easier, and it's fine to do it for that reason. Like, you know, if you keep going around and whatever you say, people are just constantly upset with you and harassing you all the time as a result of it, just on a worldly basis, because of how you speak, that harassment is a nuisance. So you just change the way you speak, so they'll stop harassing you, so you can then do your own thing. But when it comes to Dhamma, that, like, as I said, there is no room for compromise there, because people are already entirely leaning away from Dhamma with their lifestyle, with their desires, with everything else. So now, if you would not want to say what the Dhamma is because the person who asked you a question might be upset, well, you're actually, that's quite a demeritorious act to not say what the Dhamma is, even if they get upset.
Yeah, as there was a sutta on that, isn't it? Even if it upsets him, well.
Yeah. Of course, there is a difference between just going around and preaching and trying to convert everybody to your views and stuff. Then people have a right to be upset, even if the Buddha himself is just teaching it, the purest Dhamma. But if a person comes to ask the question and wants to hear what you have to say, and then they get upset on account of what you have to say, because basically not, and again, they will always try and, I heard it many times, they will always try and say, oh, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And that just shows it's basically is not, because I could say it's not what you heard, it's how you heard it. You could say the same. You're just blaming the other person now for it. But the fact is, if you're honest with yourself, you would recognize, hold on, yes, I'm upset. And there is a pressure, there is like a desire to blame it on how this person said it and how they come across. But is that really why am I upset? What if they said something that I agree with and they said in the same manner? Would I be upset? Most likely not. So the real reason I'm upset is because I don't like what I heard. The message across, the meaning that I obviously got enough to upset me.
I hate it.
I don't want to accept it. Exactly. So it's like, so then all these other reflections will come in place. So why am I affected by hearing this? Why I don't like it? Why I resist it? Why am I irritated by it? Because it goes against my desires or where my views are. And it's like, well, that in and of itself, it's against the practice of the Dhamma. You know, like that sutta where that somebody was criticizing the nuns, rightly or wrongly, doesn't matter. I think he was wrongly, actually. He was just criticizing the nuns for wrong reasons, and this monk, there was their friend, he got upset, and the monk was told off by the Buddha.
Yeah, he's becoming too intimate.
Because he became too intimate that he got upset when somebody else was criticized, regardless of whether it was right or wrong criticism. Yeah. So that's the, am I getting upset?
And he shouldn't get upset.
He shouldn't get upset.
Even if they get tortured or whatever.
Well, you shouldn't get upset even if you get tortured.
Yeah.
So, let alone if it's not you. Yeah. Doesn't mean like you ignore it or you don't know what's happening, or as I said, you don't know whether the criticism is right or wrong. No, that's all secondary. It's more like, am I moved by this? If so, means I'm not abandoning desire in regard to my own views. Yeah. And by doing that, by refusing to abandon it, I'm not practicing the Dhamma even if I'm claiming to practice it.
Yeah, even if you outwardly looking like you're supporting the Dhamma. So
sure.
If, like issues with like, I support nuns and anyone who against nuns, that's wrong, and you fight against it. Because like, are you irritated? Yes. So why is that? Because within you're maintaining hatred, lust. So you're not supporting the Dhamma at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So all this outward work that you're doing is actually not going to benefit the Dhamma.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not gonna. It's just gonna revolve around worldly things. Yeah. It's gonna become a worldly thing, even if that was not necessarily your intentional plan.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, people want you want to help. You want to not be hurtful to others. You don't want to be cruel and so on. Well, you don't have to take a course in non-violent communication.
You just have to not hate them.
Yeah.
And not be irritated by them.
The thing that was going to hurt people.
Restrain your desires. Relinquish your acquisitions, and there will be no basis for you being upset. Or the basis for you being upset will shrink, depending on how much you give up these things. It's as straightforward as that.
Yeah, and I think this reminded me of there's these two words, ascetic and aesthetic, aesthetics.
Sure.
Ascetic.
Yeah, ascetic and aesthetic.
I think that's the difference between. There's the ascetics, the ones who give up lust, hatred, and delusion.
On the level that matters.
Yeah, and then there's the aesthetics, who just look like they've been giving up.
Yeah, they're giving it up on the level that it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Well, that would kind of be all the the extreme self-mortification practices. They were completely misguided in terms of the mind, the mental intention, and the reasons behind, which the Buddha said they're as unbeneficial as sensual pleasures are. Engaging with sensual pleasure is. So, but yeah, you could see that, sure, you don't even have to go to these extremes to fall into that category. All you need to do is, again, are you reviewing, or are you prioritizing, rather? Are you prioritizing your conviction that offers you security and sense of pleasure and comfort, or are you willing to question it? Are you willing to really reflect upon and allow doubt to arise, or allow yourself to hear things you don't want to hear? And then if you dislike them, okay, or this is wrong. If your mind says this is completely wrong, it's like, okay, it might be wrong, but now I need to understand why this, which I just heard, that upsets me, that goes against what I think practice is, that goes against what I want practice to be, why is it wrong? is it just because it goes against my desires, or because I factually understand the contradiction in it? And then even if you understand the contradiction in it, are you relieved that you found a contradiction in it? If so, it means you're still invested with your desires. Why were you threatened in the first place? If you were so sure where the practice is, you would not have been threatened by something that was presented as opposed to it. And so by not engaging in such reflections, or by not allowing that to arise, you are on the level of self-mortification that just sticks to their conviction and then dismisses everything else.
Denial.
Yeah. Because that's, again, it boils down to being free from those desires, from any desire, from any need of finding safety in the world, in the ownership, in possessions.
In views.
And if a person is genuinely practicing Dharma for those reasons, they won't be deterred by the manner of speaking or the presentation, because they are looking at the bigger picture, which is, I'm about to die, I might not have much time left to practice this rightly, so please don't waste my time with poetry and sugarcoating your expression. Just tell me what I need to do.
Freedom from suffering. How do I get there?
Yeah.
How does that come about? The straight path.
Yeah. And also, of course, as I said, you use common sense either way. And it's not to say that now you just have to tell the hard, bitter truth to everyone in the face, even if they don't ask you. That's just dumb. But if you know the person, if they're here to learn from you and study, and you're mincing words, you are doing them disservice.
That's not compassionate.
No. That's more like selfish for you, because you don't want to come across, or basically you don't want to be disliked. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, if I come across like this person might dislike me, other person might dislike me. That's more important to me than actually telling them what I already know that can benefit them.
But then you don't really know the Dhamma, I suppose.
You might, but you're obviously maybe not as established in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to re-emphasize that.
If you were to prioritize that over the Dhamma, means you need some development to do, because it hasn't settled in.
Yeah, if you're trying to cater your external.
Cater, yeah. For those reasons, means your conceit still overshadows any understanding that you might have.
Because uprooting lust, hatred, that will sort that. Things will work out. That's the emphasis.
Yeah, but the key is, like, again, when you're asked, because sometimes you can equally put people off by telling them what they don't want to hear, and they didn't ask you to hear it.
No.
That can be equally misguided.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get some understanding or some sort of conviction, and then they can't resist the urge to go and preach to everybody. Stand on the town square and shout to everybody, because this is the truth. Nobody asked you. Even the Buddha himself, who actually, knew the clearest in all of its facets truth, had to be asked to teach. He wouldn't just... Even to the monks. On a number of occasions, Ananda would recognize, that was the Ananda skill, to recognize the right time to ask the Lord for the teaching, and then the Buddha would teach him.